Salam sejahtera, bersama saya Rizal Zulkapli dan seperti biasa kita mulakan perkembangan pagi ini dengan laporan daripada Jawatan Kuasa Khas Jaminan Akses Bekalan Vaksin COVID-19 yang melaporkan 514,674 dos vaksin COVID-19 diberikan pada Khamis. Menurut JKJAV, lebih 295,000 dos kedua diberikan dan 220,000 dos pertama diberikan. Itu sahaja perkembangan terkini yang kami bawakan daripada JKJAV. Kami akan bawakan perkembangan lanjut di astroawani.com dan juga dalam jam-jam akan datang. Dan seterusnya, saham di pasaran Asia Pasifik dijangka didagang bercampur dalam dagangan Jumaat dengan pelabur menantikan data pekerjaan Amerika untuk bulan Julai. Terdahulu, saham di pasaran Amerika ditutup tinggi selepas data menunjukkan jumlah permohonan bantuan pengangguran menurun pada minggu lepas. Jumlah permohonan bantuan pengangguran di Amerika menurun 14,000 kepada 385,000 dan pembuangan pekerja juga menurun ke paras terendah dalam 21 tahun bulan lepas. Menurut Kingsland Growth Advisors yang dipetik Reuters, pelabur percaya Amerika tidak akan masuk ke satu lagi penutupan ekonomi dan pemulihan akan berjalan lancar. Pada penutup, indeks Dow Jones naik 271 mata, S&P 500 naik 26 mata dan Nasdaq naik 114 mata. Pelabur kini akan memerhatikan laporan pekerjaan Julai yang akan diumumkan lewat hari ini. Sementara itu, ahli lembaga pengarah The Fed, Christopher Waller, jangka polisi monetary yang akomodatif pada ketika ini mungkin akan dikurangkan lebih awal daripada jangkaan. Ini susulan pemulihan ekonomi dan juga pasaran pekerjaan di Amerika yang berlaku dengan pantas. Dan seterusnya, setiausaha luar UK jangka kerjasama dagangan dengan ASEAN akan meningkat dengan UK menjadi rakan dialog ASEAN. Ini adalah kali pertama dalam 25 tahun ASEAN bersetuju untuk rakan dialog baru. Dominic Raab jangka ini akan meningkatkan kerjasama UK-ASEAN dalam bidang dagangan, pelaburan, perubahan iklim, sains, teknologi dan pendidikan. UK memohon untuk menjadi rakan dialog pada Jun 2020. Ketika ini, jumlah dagangan antara UK dan ASEAN adalah sekitar 32.3 bilion pound pada 4 suku berakhir suku pertama 2021. UK pada Jun turut umum telah mulakan rundingan untuk sertai CPTPP yang turut disertai beberapa negara ASEAN termasuk Malaysia.
Well, look, the UK is the first country to be given ASEAN Dialogue Partner status for 25 years. And this is the group of Southeast Asian nations where we can strengthen our trade for businesses, for the jobs of the future, in what is the growth market of the future. There's also areas around security where we want to cooperate more closely. You'll remember the Essex lorry disaster, which had Vietnamese people who'd been human trafficked as the victims back in 2019. That's a good example with one of the ASEAN member states where we should work more closely on international organised crime. And then there are all the other global challenges from COVID to climate change where we need a much closer relationship. So I think the scope for win-win collaboration is huge and it's an honour but also huge value to the UK to be invited to join.
Dan saya ingin bacakan di sini jumlah kumulatif pemberian dos vaksin sehingga semalam. 23.161 juta kumulatif dos vaksin diberikan dan daripada jumlah tersebut, jumlah populasi yang telah divaksin adalah 46.4% yang menerima dos pertama. Yang lengkap dos kedua adalah 24.5%, bermakna hampir 1 daripada 4 populasi di Malaysia telah pun lengkap dos vaksinnya. Populasi dewasa yang telah menerima dos vaksin pertama 64.8% dan juga dos vaksin kedua adalah 34.2% untuk populasi dewasa. Kami akan bawa ke analisis dan laporan tersebut dalam jam akan datang. Dan kita ingin rangkumi laporan ekonomi minggu ini berkenaan indeks PMI China, kadar inflasi di UK dan juga polisi monetary The Fed. Kita bersama dengan Ketua Pakar Ekonomi GYIQI, Shan Said, dan izinkan saya meneruskan dalam bahasa Inggeris. Shan, China PMI eased to 50.4% in July from about 50.9% in June. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics showed on Saturday, but remain above the 50-point mark that separates growth from contraction. Do you think China's economic growth is moderating, and what's the impact on the global economy and exporting countries like Malaysia?
Yes, Rizal, absolutely. It's a breather time for the Chinese economy. As you rightly said, the Chinese economy is moderating. Not only the Chinese economy, I think the global economy is slowing down. The question is, will the Chinese economy upsurge from here? It all depends on the virus control. Already the Delta virus has spread in China, and we have seen how China has done control of this virus last year, and they did it quite effectively. On the ground reality, the consumption patterns in China are still very strong. They are still buying globally. The domestic demand continues to stay on a strong footing. The People's Bank of China have made sufficient buffer in the foreign exchange market that gives a boost to the economy, especially at the macro level. For countries like Malaysia, yes, Malaysia holds a strategic position in the ICT market. If you recall, last August, Economist magazine shared a report on ICT. What is ICT? Integrated Circuit Technology, which is called chip. Chip industry is having huge shortages. And Malaysia right now is contributing 10% to Chinese import. And this import figures would grow up for China by 2025. It is estimated that Malaysia will contribute around 18 to 20% of China's ICT import. So Malaysia holds a significant position. So in the next 3 to 5 years, the two industries that will contribute significantly to Malaysia is ICT market and the LNG market. As you know, LNG is becoming quite big, and Petronas is in a perfect position to supply LNG, taking into account the closer proximity and Chinese demand. By 2025, China will become the largest LNG importer. So I think Malaysian economy might slow down a bit in the short run, but once the Chinese economy recovers, it will give boost to all the economies related to its trade volume and commerce structure.
But Shan, inflation, well, let's move on to the UK. Inflation in the UK is forecast to hit about 4% this year. And you've warned and shared with us that price inflation numbers are serious in the advanced economies. Even the outgoing chief economist of the Bank of England warned about higher inflation driven by rising fuel prices and the cost of clothing, meals and drinks at restaurants, for example, as hospitality venues reopen after the lockdown. Do you still believe that this is transitional?
Not at all, Rizal. I have been saying all along since March, April, that this inflation, especially in advanced economies like Japan, UK, US, this is a serious inflation. And not only me, if you pick up 2nd August Financial Times, one of the most respected central bank governors, Elvira Nabiullina from Russia, she has shared the same, that this inflation numbers are here for the long run and many economies will have to live with it as the GDP upsurge in the next 3 to 5 years. So I think inflation numbers, as you rightly said, fuel prices, shortage of food, and not only that, Brexit has contributed to the rise of UK inflation because 50% of fruit and vegetables, they come from area called Cabinas in Spain. And as you know, because of Brexit, there are supply bottlenecks, there are hiccups. Because of that, prices are going up. And that will continue to remain high for UK. 4 to 5% inflation next year, UK very much on the cards. And it will remain there for quite some time.
In fact, Vice Chairman Richard Clarida said in yesterday's Wall Street Journal that by early 2023, policy normalization would happen, meaning a hike in interest rates in the US. Do we know by how much? Do you think by how much, and what is a logical or pragmatic range to you? And can investors factor this in already?
Result 25 to 50 basis points are very much on the cards. Hike in rates will become inevitable in 2023, taking into account that Clarida holds a notable position in the Fed chair, and his comments are likely shared by many others in the Fed because his role of shaping the monetary policy guidance is quite significant. But Rizal, we have to take into account that we are standing at a crossroad of economic history, where pivot of growth can move anywhere. Fed's framework was not designed for an environment like this, the current one of COVID, where prices are surging due to bottlenecks and supply shortages associated with reopening of the economy from COVID pandemic. That has complicated the Fed's task not only of forecasting inflation, but also of clarifying how it plans to react to incoming data, economic growth, unemployment, and inflation. So in my opinion, Fed's job to deliver economic outcome has become quite arduous, and it will remain quite tough for the next 2 to 3 years.
Let's talk about oil prices. Oil is trading at around $70 per barrel, dropping from around $76 per barrel 15 days ago. I know early in January you said oil would trade between $50 and $70 per barrel. It's already happened. Where are oil prices heading, moving on from here, north or south? Will the Delta variant provide headwinds to oil prices?
Rizal, at the start of the year when we said oil prices will be trading between $50 and $70, our premise was based on that economies will be reopening after the effective control of COVID. There will be geopolitical risks, and of course there will be production cuts. The same premise has been applied for H2. We have revised our forecast for H2, and we are saying that 73 and $87 per barrel for the remaining 5 months, based on that many economies on the average 30 to 50% of the global economy, the vaccination has taken place. That will contribute to the opening of many economies moving forward. There will be production cuts from OPEC. So we don't see wild swings as some people are expecting oil will go back to $10 or $20. That is not happening, because the break-even point for many advanced economies and for many oil companies is around $50 to $55 per barrel, and they can't take the pressure of $10 or $20 or $30 per barrel at this point of time. So I think for H2, our forecast is $73 and $87 per barrel for this year, and oil is heading north.
On that note, thank you very much, Shan Said, for joining us. Ketua Pakar Ekonomi Jiwai IQI, Shan Said membincangkan berkenaan dengan indeks PMI China, kadar inflasi di UK dan juga polisi monetary The Fed. Kita akan berehat seketika kembali selepas ini.